Hey, what's going on, Panther fans? Here to talk to you about the NFL Draft. We're just 3 days away. It's one of my most favorite times of the year, honestly. I usually try to watch all 7 rounds of the draft straight through. A lot of people don't do that. When you get past about the 3rd round, it gets into more of the prospects where you don't know as much about some of the lower level college players that are coming out. But, you know, I love watching it from beginning to end. We've had a lot of success in recent years with later round picks, such as Greg Hardy in the 6th, Captain Munderland in the 7th. I mean, grabbing guys like that late in the draft to make it cool, to watch them get drafted and see what they have to say about them coming out of college and how they develop. So I'm really looking forward to this. I do every year. It's right around the time of my birthday, which is actually on day 3 of the draft. It's my birthday this year. So I'll be celebrating it with some draft watching, and then we'll see what we can do after that. So before I get started into the draft, I had a few questions from Panthers x Yankees 89 in the last video, rather, in the comments section. Just wanted to address that really quick before I get rolling on the draft stuff. Mostly things about Cam, but the first question was, he wanted me to kind of talk about Cam's 2nd season, since I wasn't making videos last year. Overall, I think he did a good job. I mean, coming from his 1st season, he had some mistakes, the regular rookie mistakes, mainly with the interceptions. I mean, he threw for an enormous amount of yards his 1st year. It was just unprecedented, really, until Andrew Luck came in last year and broke that, which was disappointing to see. But I think in his 2nd year he made strides. He cut down on those interceptions. In the home stretch where the team was actually winning, I think a lot of that had to do with Cam and his not throwing picks, being smart with the football, and making more accurate, consistent throws, is what we saw in the last several weeks. And I'm looking for that to continue into year 3, hopefully. A lot of people early on in the season were talking sophomore slump. I don't think he had a sophomore slump overall. Maybe like the first few games were a little rocky in the beginning, but when you look at his stats, I mean, I think he improved. Maybe not the same amount of yards, but he improved as a quarterback in his 2nd year. So he really improved passing from the pocket, his pocket awareness, and his accuracy. I think took great strides. He didn't rush as much last year as he did in his 1st year, at least for touchdowns. He had a huge number of rushing touchdowns in his 1st year. It was unreal. So the next question was, what should he be changing about his mechanics and leadership going into his 3rd year? I think mechanics-wise, he's good. In his 1st year, he had some of those off throws where he was sailing them high or throwing them low, fairly often. 2nd year, he fixed a lot of that. You didn't see that happen nearly as often, especially late in the season. So I think mechanically he's got to continue to do that, and that cuts down interceptions, and it's going to help the whole team out. So for leadership, this is one area, if any, that he could probably continue to excel in. He has more room to grow there. I'm not really, I don't have a problem with the towel over the head thing like a lot of people do. I don't think it's a big deal. But I think it's important that you got to be on the sidelines talking to your teammates when you're not on the field. You've got to be, in there almost like another coach, just talking to your team and getting them geared up. So I think that's going to be important to do in year 3. It'll be interesting to see if he gets a captain's patch this year. Jordan Gross, as we know, took a pay cut, and this is probably going to be his last year, and he's been a captain for I don't know how many years straight. So it's him and Steve Smith. So I don't know if maybe Cam will get the captain's patch over Gross this year. I don't think he's going to get it over Smitty, but it'll be interesting to see how the team votes on that, and if his leadership is progressing, he may be in the running for it. So he also asked, the fact that we haven't been in the playoffs the past 2 years, is it on Cam's shoulders? And I think no. I mean, Cam, he's the quarterback, so obviously any criticism for the team is going to be focused on him first and foremost. But really, it's a team effort, and I think Cam has been laying it all out on the field. I mean, most every game. So I don't think it's on his shoulders. It's a team sport, and so I mean, it's on the team's shoulders and the coaching staff. I think the coaching staff has a lot of room to improve this year, mainly getting the team off to a faster start. So I mean, if they can do that, I think we have a better chance of making the playoffs. Obviously, so it's Cam's responsibility to be a leader and to control the football and not turn it over and just play smart. And if he does that, the rest of it. The team has to step it up. He has to have the other pieces in place to to help him make a run. So, and I think we're possibly just a piece or two away from being a very good playoff team. So hopefully we make that step in year 3. So, and finally, he asked, if we don't make the playoffs this year, what happens with Cam? Well, he's going to the 3rd year of his rookie deal. The rookie deal was for 4 years at $22 million. He's obviously, I don't think he's going anywhere after year 3, whether we make the playoffs or not. I don't think that's going to be debated. The one thing that could come into play with that is that I don't think we want to let him get to year 4 on his deal without trying to extend him. So I think ideally we'd like to give him a contract extension this offseason. So his performance this year is really going to affect that number, what we offer. So if we miss the playoffs again for the 3rd consecutive year, I think you're going to see him take a dip in his offer price for an extension, or he may opt to just go ahead and play that 4th year as the last season of his contract and just kind of roll the dice. But I think if he plays really well and we go to the playoffs, he's going to really have a bargaining chip for that extension. And I think there's no doubt in my mind that the Panthers are going to want to extend him. I think he's the face of the franchise, one of the biggest superstars already that the city has ever seen. So, I think that there's no question they want to keep him no matter how his performance is this year, unless it's just, absolutely dreadful and he, regresses to worse than he was his first year. I don't think that's going to happen, though. So, I don't think it's going to have a huge effect on Cam's future with the Panthers. All right, let's get into some draft talk. It is my favorite thing of the year, to watch, to talk about. And, it's so sad after the draft's over because then you have several more months of waiting until preseason and finally the regular season starts. So, but I'd like to get a few thoughts out there on what I think we should target in this draft. Maybe a couple players we should be looking at. So in the first round, we hold the number 14 pick, and there's been a lot of buzz today online about the 49ers possibly looking to trade up into the 13th to 14th pick. And the 13th pick is now held by the Jets since they just traded for Darrelle Revis to the Bucs. So if the 49ers are looking to trade up to 14, I think we've got to listen to them. They have 13 picks in the draft, the 49ers that is, and so they have a lot of ammo to move up if they want. And so, we're a team that only has 5 picks and a lot of areas to address in this draft. So if we can get another second or possibly even a second and third out of them, with also swapping first-round picks, I think you really have to think hard about it. If we wanted to drop down to their pick in the first round at 31, pretty substantial drop, but if we could also get like the 34th overall pick, which they own, that's the second pick of the second round, plus maybe a late third or something like that, I think it might be too hard to pass up. So I hope they're listening to that and giving it serious consideration. It sounds like that the rumors are that they're talking with the team, but who knows at this point. So it'll be interesting to see if something happens before the draft or if it actually waits until draft time for them to make a move. But I could see them trying to trade up for a Tavon Austin or someone like that. Or there's also rumors they're looking for a defensive tackle to replace some of their aging line. So that's going to be a big thing to watch on Thursday. As for us, if we stay at 14, I'm really hoping somebody drops to us like Elaine Johnson or Star Lutulele. I think one of those two guys would be it would be amazing if one of them dropped, and I think if we hold on to the pick, I don't see how you could pass up on one of those guys if they fell to that point. I believe that we need to focus our efforts in the early rounds on offensive and defensive line. I'm not a big fan of the guards, of picking a guard as early as 14. I think that you can get great serviceable guards in the later rounds. I think first round for offensive line should be reserved for getting a tackle. And if this is going to be Jordan Gross's last season with the team, and on the right side we have Byron Bell, it's not looking great at tackle. So if we could go ahead and get somebody like a Lane Johnson in the first round, he could play the right side for the first year and switch over to the left next year when Jordan's gone, and that way we'll be set. Cam's got to be protected, because if Cam doesn't have time to throw, we've seen what happens. He all quarterbacks need time to throw, and without a serviceable left tackle, you're not going to go anywhere. So I think that's a good possibility in the first round. If not that, then defensive tackle, wouldn't mind it. There's Sheldon Richardson, who I like. Sharif Floyd, if he were to drop, that would also be an excellent pick. And also, there's Starr. So a lot of people seem to think that Starr's not going to drop out of the top 5 or at worst the top 10, but there's a few people out there that thinks it's at least a remote possibility. So if he gets to 14, I think you got to pull the trigger. Even with his heart conditions, he's been cleared by hospital staff, so hopefully he's good to go. Let's see. Another offensive lineman is DJ Fluker from Alabama. He probably will be available at 14, even though I've seen a couple of mocks that have him going before 14. He would also be another possible pickup. I'm not really sure. I don't have as much information on him. I'm not sure if he can play the left side, but he's part of that talented offensive line in Alabama, so he's got some pedigree there with being on Nick Saban's national title team. So those are the ways that I would lean to go. And I mentioned in my last vid that we hung out with Big Nick 2700. We hung out with him on Friday night, and it was pretty cool to talk to him, get his thoughts on everything. He's kind of leaning the same way I am. He thinks that we should look to solidify the lines first and foremost, and so we were really in agreement on that. As much as I would love to take a shiny new wide receiver in the first round, I don't think it's going to happen. I'm not really a huge fan of Tavon Austin. I think he is undersized, and people say Smitty's undersized, but Tavon Austin is actually smaller than Steve Smith, and so when you think about it that way, I don't know if that's going to be a good option that early in the draft for us. It seems like some of the other guys just have minor flaws, like Cordell Patterson. Keenan Allen ran a slow 40. It just seems like there's a small flaw in each of them. One I really like is DeAndre Hopkins from Clemson. I think, I'm not sure at 14 that might be a bit of a reach, but if we ended up trading back with the 49ers or some other team into the 20s, somewhere in there, I think selecting Hopkins there would be a good choice. He's got huge hands. He would be a great possession receiver, something we haven't had since Muhsin Muhammad was here. So I think if we could nab him, I would definitely approve that. But not sure about any wide receiver at 14 being a good option. So in the later rounds, we got to continue to look to back up our defensive secondary. It's going to be something we have to look at, and whatever we don't address early on, whether it be offensive line, defensive line. I don't know if we'll maybe look to get another backup linebacker in the late rounds. With Thomas Davis and John Beeson's injury concerns, I think you have to be prepared for injuries this year, especially since we let go of James Anderson. So that's about the extent of my thoughts. I don't think we'll go corner in round 1. It doesn't look like a big possibility. A lot of people are asking about Vaccaro. That's maybe. There was rumors that we were going to select Mark Barron last year before Tampa picked him, and we got Kuechly, which more than satisfied with that pickup. But I think it's a small possibility we look at Vaccaro if he's around. I would say I think there's bigger chance that they go after offensive or defensive line rather than safety. But I would say it's probably a third or fourth option in that order. Anyway, I'm running this video kind of long. If you have any questions, comments about the draft, feel free to post them in the comments below, and I'll be sure to get back to you. Really excited to see what happens, and I'll have a draft review up right after the draft, probably on, well, it'll probably be Saturday or Sunday, depending on what's going on with the birthday stuff. So, may not be able to get it up for a day or two after the draft. So, but we'll talk to you soon. Leave those comments, and really excited. Go Panthers.